Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Place Academy for Civil Services. This is a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. So the most important news and editorial of the day would be discussed in this session. Let's get started with news topic list. Today is 25th of January. The first topic is Vision Document 2.0 for the electronic manufacturing. We'll see the detail and the target that has been set by the government. Second, CRISIL call for tariff cuts to spur export amid the budget which is upcoming. So the CRISIL rating agency has forecasted and recommended some of the suggestions. Third, nurturing the recovery. So this is an editorial from Indian Express. Today I'll be discussing two important editorial, one from the Indian Express and the other from the Hindu. Fourth, that is NATO sent reinforcement to Eastern Europe amid Russia's tension. We'll see the Ukraine issue there. And the last is again editorial dealing with macroeconomic uncertainties. So these two editorial are more or less talking about the economic prospects, their growth, and the future forecast and how it can be corrected. So we'll see and understand everything of that particular editorial. Apart from this, at the end of this video, there would be some MCQ based questions. These questions would be based on current affair that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. You can practice this question at your home because this is very important that you practice current affairs questions and build up your foundations. So without any further delay, let's get started. And those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Place Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do not forget to press a like button. And just to tell you about the Republic Day offer that we are offering, there are three offers that you can avail. The first is about the UPSC classes, courses and classes. The other is about the WBCS program. And the third is with regards to the test series for all the courses, right? The link is there in the description down below. You can check the details. This particular offer is valid till 26th of January. So do not miss this opportunity to grab the offers. Starting with the first news, that is Vision Document 2.0 for electronic manufacturing. This particular news is important for General Studies Paper 2. Government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from it, right? We'll see and understand what government is forecasting and what is a roadmap that government is planning for this electronic manufacturing. So according to the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, उन्होंने अपनी latest vision document निकाली है. This is Vision Document 2.0, which says that India's manufacturing will quadruple up to 300 billion by 2026. So this is a target set by the ministry, or you can say the government of India, for 2026, that they would chase upon $3 billion target, right? At present, the manufacturing is valued around $67 billion. So if you're writing in mains paper, you have to note these two important points. Now, the fresh outlook is aimed at transforming India's manufacturing, जहाँ पे फोकस ये की जाएगी कि उसको competitiveness बनाया जाए, scale up किया जाए, and the export should be promoted so that the benefit is there for a country. Now, what is there in the Vision Document 2.0? This is another document, a revamped document that the ministry has come up. So this particular document was again released by the Ministry of Electronic and Information Technology. And it called for cellular, ये जो actually present की गई थी, ये prepared की गई है Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, but it was actually presented by the Cellular and Electronic Association of India. So it emphasizes on some of the important and prominent segment that has potentially to grow in larger extent. तो इनमें कुछ sectors हैं जो इसमें cover किए जाएंगे. The first would be the mobile phone. Second is information technology and hardware, that is called IT hardware. Consumer electronics, it can be like cell phones, even consumer durable item like washing machines, refrigerators, these sort of items would be included, and many other consumer durable items. Wearable and hearables, these are again the items. LED lighting, which is again a major component for each and every household. And the last would be electronic components in the electronic vehicles. So government has already come up with the PLI scheme, जो प्रोडक्शन लिंक इंसेंटिव स्कीम्स हैं वो बहुत सारे सेक्टर्स में गवर्नमेंट लेकर के आई है ऑलरेडी, एंड दे आर ट्राइंग टू इम्पैनल दिस विद द विजन डॉक्यूमेंट 2.2. Now, precisely talking about electronic manufacturing industry, how this industry can grow to a larger extent and the potential of this industry. So the electronic manufacturing industries has grown at present, like अगर बात करें 2015-16 के, this was 37.1 billion. Now it has reached up to 67 billion in 20 to 2021. So this is a progress. This is a positive side that we can note with regards to the manufacturing industries. कोविड के डिस्ट्रप्शंस की वजह से भी बहुत सारी जो ग्रोथ की जो ट्रेजेक्ट्री है उसमें डाउनफॉल देखी गई है, एंड दैट हैज लेड टू द डिक्लाइन. नाउ द मैन्युफैक्चरिंग आउटपुट एट प्रेजेंट इज adherent to 67.3. If you talk about the electronic market, that is estimated to reach around 150 to 180 billion from the current 67 billion over the next to 5 years. तो 4 से 5 सालों में जो ग्रोथ है वो और स्पर करेगी. इट कैन बी एक्सपोनेंशियली ग्रोइंग एंड इट कैन रीच अप टू 150 to 80 billion dollars. Now, electronic sector has a potential. Definitely, this is a sector which is booming not only in India, across the world, and it can become one of the India's top export. जहाँ पे 3 से 5 सालों में गवर्नमेंट ये टारगेट करी है कि हमें मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ऑफ जो खास करके मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एक्सपोर्ट में ग्रोथ करनी है. Now, the national policy on electronics, which was released by the government in 2019, this can be the vision document 1. This is vision document 2.0 that we're discussing. So it already set a target of 400 billion by 2025, right? Although government ने अभी इसको थोड़ा कम किया because of the COVID-19 disruption, but at that point of time the target was set around 400 billion dollars. However, due to the pandemic, it has brought that unforeseen, unprecedented challenges here that also exist in the industry. For the reason being, the government has, to some extent, they have decreased the targets. Financial incentives की अगर बात करें, this provided by the PLI scheme, which is across for the 10 major sectors. मैंने आपके साथ ये डिस्कस किया हुआ है. Do check it out. Which are the important sector for which the PLI incentive is there? You need to check this. There can be important prelims questions also. So this would provide a major booster to increase the presence of manufacturing activities in our country. Now, gaining trajectories की अगर बात करें, you can see this graph. This will give you an estimations that how things are working. So even though China remains the leader in electronic manufacturing, इंडिया ने अपनी जो डिपेंडेंस है खास करके चाइना पे वो कम करने की कोशिश की और एक्सपोर्ट को बढ़ाने की बात कही है, राइट? सो फॉर 2018-19 इट वाज ओनली 1.6 बिलियन डॉलर्स, देन इट ग्रेजुअली रीच अप टू अराउंड, अगर आप बात करें प्रेजेंट में, दिस इज समथिंग क्लोज टू, दिस इज लाइक 15 बिलियन डॉलर्स, and the anticipations for 25-26 is 110 billion dollars. So estimation growth of Indian mobile export phone, this is precisely only for the mobile phone and not any other sectors. Now moving to the other news, crucial call for tariff cuts to export the export. We'll see how the export policy in India can be taking exponential growth in terms of coming years. So this particular news is important for General Studies Paper 3, Indian Economy and Issues Related to Planning, Mobilization, Growth and Development. So according to the rating agency CRISIL is one of the reputed rating agency when it's come to the forecast of economy. So it says that the government should lower the import tariff. तो उन्होंने recommend किया है कि government को जो अपनी import tariff है उसको lower करने की ज़रूरत है, and the raw material that is there, which is basically used for the manufacture, which can put down the inflations, should help the domestic manufacturing to compete the global orders. तो जो हमारे global competitors हैं उनको beat करने के लिए जो import tariffs हैं उनको कम करने की ज़रूरत है. So the recent buoyancy, I mean basically you see the downfall, the up and downfall in the global demand is high to push India's merchandise export. जो merchandise exports हैं वो बहुत हद तक 400 बिलियन डॉलर्स तक भी जा सकती है. वी हैव सीन इन टर्म्स ऑफ मर्चेंडाइज बांग्लादेश इज आल्सो डूइंग अ कमेंडेबल जॉब. सो सम एग्जांपल्स कैन बी टेकन फ्रॉम देम आल्सो, राइट? ऑल्दो इंडिया के आसपास नहीं है वो, बट फिर भी वहां से कुछ जो गुड प्रैक्टिसेस है दैट कैन बी टेकन अवे. So the challenging part will be to keep the momentum going for this particular merchandise export. Now, precisely talking about the 1 trillion target that was set by the government. So what is this all about? To attain 1 trillion target set by the government for merchandise export by 2029 and 2030. So this is for this particular. तो CRISIL ने emphasis दी है that we need to took upon some कुछ हमें स्पेसिफिक मेजर्स लेने की जरूरत है विच कैन स्टार्ट विद दिस बजट. द बजट दैट वुड बी कमिंग अप फॉर 2022 कैन बी अ बिगिनिंग एंड अ रोड मैप टू बूस्ट द स्पेंडिंग इन ट्रेड. इट कैन ऑल्सो हेल्प टू रिड्यूस द टेरिफ कॉस्ट. ये सारी कुछ मेजर्स हैं जो बताई गई है जो गवर्नमेंट को इस बजट से स्टार्ट करने की जरूरत है. वी नीड टू इनहांस द क्रेडिट रिस्क टू फैसिलिटेट द ट्रेड. What has happened, like for the past 2 years, we have seen because of the COVID-19 things was not performing. Now this is the time amid the third COVID-19 wave, which is not that intensive, although the cases are reported. So this is the time that we need to enhance credit risk, और जो reduce tariff है, जो tariff cost है उसको कम करने की जरूरत है, and we need to spend more on trading part, right? And India also need to consolidate the recently seen increase in the share of industrial investment as well as ओवरऑल जो मर्चेंटाइज ट्रेड है उसको इंक्रीज करने की कोशिश करने की जरूरत है. सो दिस इज हाउ द थिंग्स वुड वर्क टू अचीव अ टारगेट ऑफ 1 trillion. Now, some recommendations before budget that was provided by the CRISL. So it says कि जो budget है वो focus करे infrastructure के development में. Also, apart from infrastructure and shipping, logistics can help to reduce the non-tariff cost जो कि across border trade की जाती है. This would be imperative, that would be required, essentially required to increase that particular cost. Right? Commodity price की अगर बात करें, this can be stay elevated, which is volatile in nature, right? We've seen that because of the global prices, the impact is the repercussion that can be seen in India also. Hence, a reduction in the tariff cost through the change in the custom duties for the raw material can be something very important decision. So these are some of the recommendations that was given. The input that bring down the imported inflations and support domestic manufacturing as well can definitely help. Now, what at the end CRISL has concluded, it says that the steps need to expedite the overall task risk जहाँ पे प्रोजेक्ट की जो कॉस्ट है जो नेशनल एक्सपोर्ट इंश्योरेंस अकाउंट है that can be also supported in terms of providing the overall growth to the export sectors. Now, nurturing the recovery, this is the first editorial that I'll be discussing. There's other editorial that is also linked with the economy recovery only. But this particular editorial is important for General Studies Paper 3, issues, inclusive growth and issues arising from it. Now, what under this editorial that I'm going to discuss with you? There are 4 important subtopics that I'll be discussing. The first would be RBI measure during the pandemic, measures by the US Fed Reserve. Third is inflation pressure. And the last is way forward. The entire editorial talk on the theme upon इकोनॉमिक रिकवरी एंड पेंडेमिक. तो पूरे एडिटोरियल में इकोनॉमिक रिकवरी और पेंडेमिक से कैसे हमें वी कैन रिकवर, दैट इज अ पॉइंट ऑफ कंसर्न डिस्कस्ड इन दिस एडिटोरियल. सो एज पर द रीसेंट जीडीपी एस्टिमेट्स जो कि इंडियन इकोनॉमी की ग्रोथ के बारे में प्रोजेक्शंस दी गई है, दिस इज अराउंड 9.2% फॉर 2021-2022. बट इफ यू सी इट इज लोअर देन द आरबीआई प्रोजेक्शन. जो हमारी सेंट्रल बैंक है आरबीआई, रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया ने, उन्होंने अपनी एस्टिमेशंस में 9.5% की ग्रोथ बताई थी, राइट? And if you talk about nominal GDP growth, it is expected that it might grow up to 17.6%, right? But all these calculations जो GDP की estimations है, ये यूनियन बजट से पहले एक projections होगी कि how the fiscal projection has to go, how the roadmap is going to be there in terms of the overall state of the economy performances, right? And economy is expected to recover its pre-COVID level by this fiscal year. तो ये anticipations की गई है जो problem इंडिया face कर रही है since 2020, we can come up to that pre-COVID levels, but इसके लिए भी हमें 2022 के end तक जानी होगी so that we can see the performance how each and every sector is performing. Now, some RBI measures during this pandemic, how the measures that was taken by the RBI has actually helped. तो सेंट्रल बैंक ने कुछ ऐसे पोजीशंस लिए हैं जहाँ पे दे हैव नॉट एग्रीड टू इंक्रीज एनी रेट्स, राइट? जो भी इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स हैं मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी के, जो इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स हैं, दे हैव एक्चुअली नॉट टेकन, दे हैव मेंटेन द स्टेटस को. जिस तरह से जो रेट थी उसको मेंटेन करके रखा गया पॉलिसी रेट को, जिसके वजह से कुछ इकोनॉमिक रिपरकर्शन भी हुए हैं बिकॉज द थिंग्स इज नॉट वर्किंग इन द राइट डायरेक्शंस. और दो फॉर्मली अनाउंस किया गया कि नॉर्मलाइजेशन प्रोसेस को फॉलो किया जाएगा. एंड इवन जो कट ऑफ थी, अगर बात करें वैल्यूबल रेट रिवर्स रेपो, दैट हैज ऑल्सो करेक्ट द गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटी एक्विजिशंस प्रोग्राम. So these were the things that were definitely impacted because of maintaining the status quo for all the monetary policy measures that RBI used to take. However, the excess जो liquidity थी that was injected as a part of pandemic response. This was a collaborative response from the government plus the RBI, right? तो ये दोनों की mutual decision थी जहाँ पे liquid diffusion की बात की गई थी मार्केट में. So excess liquidity was there in the market to stimulate the economic necessity and possibly make जो non performing assets हैं उनके बढ़ने से उनको रोका जा सके, right? This is the things that was the decision both by the government and RBI was taken simultaneously. Now some measures by the US Fed. ये global अगर कुछ measures की बात करें, US Fed ने अभी recently ये कहा है that they are increasing the interest rate, right? अगर वहाँ की जो बैंक है, central bank है US Fed, so they are trying to increase the rate against the backdrop of temper tantrums जो हो रही है वहाँ पे, possibly they would hike to prevent the capital fight, right? Now again, this is a problem that might also impact India forex reserve. So globally जो central bank है, they have started increasing the interest rate to be, see, सिर्फ इंडिया की बात नहीं, हमें globally भी उसी पैरामीटर पे काम करने की जरूरत है. Accordingly, each and every central bank have the level of adherence that has to be there, right? However, there's no firm decision has been taken in India as to increase the rate, which can affect the recovery. But the budget is something which would be again a very important factor in terms of deciding जो next MPC की meeting होनी है, monetary policy committee की meeting होगी, that would be deciding factor that whether they should increase or decrease. So budget is going to be a very significant component of that. Now inflationary pressure भी काफी ज़्यादा है. If you see inflation pressure is although mounting in India, the wholesale price index अगर बात करें WPI, this has risen to a record high of 13.5% in December as per the Ministry of Commerce and Industries data. And if you talk about the CPI, that is consumer price index की बात करें, CPI although within has a comfort zone, like 4% on the band of plus or 2 minus, right? Although उर्जित पटेल कमेटी ने भी इसके recommendations दिए थे, ये plus या -2 से ऊपर होनी नहीं चाहिए. Now way forward in this regard would be that जो माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक की अनसर्टेनिटीज है उसको फिजिकल पॉलिसीज के साथ बाइंड अप किया जाए. द बजट कैन प्ले अ वेरी क्रूशियल रोल इन प्रमोटिंग द सस्टेनेबल रिकवरी ऑफ द इकोनॉमी. फिजिकल डेफिसिट परसेंटेज में अगर बात करें ऑफ द जीडीपी इज एक्सपेक्टेड टू डिक्लाइन. दिस इज अराउंड 9.5% फॉर 2021, बट इट इज एक्सपेक्टेड ये 6.8% तक आ सकती है अगर ये सारी चीजें राइट डायरेक्शन में चली तो. Public investment in the infrastructure is a major growth driver that can have a very positive impact in making this possible. And the last is considering the impact of credit-linked stimulus on economy is limited. तो हमें एक significant fiscal domains करने की ज़रूरत है, which should not under be estimated. This should be at the need of the hour. That should be done at the earliest. Other news, NATO sends reinforcement to Eastern Europe amid the Russia's tension. This particular news is important for general studies paper 2, effect of policies for developed and developing countries या फिर bilateral, regional and grouping and agreement, वहाँ पे भी ये topics important है. Now NATO, which is basically what is happening, we already had discussed this news several times, तो मैं आपको थोड़ा brief कर दूँ. NATO ने ally की है US के साथ. They're trying that एक forces वहाँ पे stand by में रखी जाएंगी यूक्रेन के आसपास, which basically is something, a concern that was raised by the Russia also. So NATO allies have put forward the standby, and this said SEAP and fighter jet to bolster the European eastern borders. तो जो यूरोप के ईस्टर्न बॉर्डर्स हैं उनको प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए, बिकॉज रशिया ने अभी यूक्रेन में बहुत ज़्यादा मिलिट्री सेटअप किया हुआ. दे हैव deployed a lot more forces over there, which is a concern both for NATO and its allies, that is United States as well. So the Biden administration in United States have put almost 8,500 troops on highlighted alert, and this was a deployment that was done in the Europe. I will show you a map. It will make you better understand कि किस तरह से ये deployment हो रही है. The tension have showed in Russia's deployment for some, like उन्होंने 1 लाख के आसपास troops को deploy किया है, which is heavily armed, और नेबरिंग बॉर्डर्स जो हैं यूक्रेन के उनके आसपास. सो लेट अंडरस्टैंड वाया दिस मैप. यू कैन सी दिस इज रशिया, राइट? दिस इज रशिया, दिस इज बेलारूस, राइट? बेसिकली जो डिप्लॉयमेंट की गई है वो बेलारूस के रीजन में की गई है, एंड इट इज बीइंग आर्ग्यूड कि जो नॉर्थ यूक्रेन है उस पर रशिया क्लेम कर सकती है. सो दिस इज अ रीजन, इट इज बीइंग एंटिसिपेटेड बाय द नाटो एंड यूएस फोर्सेस एंड द यूएस एक्सपर्ट कि बेलारूस में इंटर करके यूक्रेन की जो नॉर्थ रीजन है उसको रशिया एक्वायर कर सकती है, विच दे वांट इट शुड नॉट हैपन, राइट? यू कैन सी दिस इज द यूक्रेन रीजन, दिस इज द कीव रीजन, और ये रशिया, ये बेलारूस. ऑल्दो यूएस, ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड और भी ऐसे जो इंपॉर्टेंट कंट्रीज हैं उन्होंने अपने डिप्लोमैट्स को भी उधर उस एरियाज को खाली करने के लिए कहा. Now, the US-led NATO forces alliance has said that the member were packing troops on standby, जहाँ पे शिप्स रखे गए हैं, एंड रशिया इज ऑल्सो पॉइंटिंग आउट द डिसीजन ऑन डेनमार्क, स्पेन एंड नीदरलैंड टू मोबिलाइज देयर फोर्सेस. नाउ रशिया की स्टैंड क्या है? रशिया ने क्या आर्गुमेंट दी है फॉर द डिप्लॉयमेंट? रशिया सेड दैट दिस इज दे डू नॉट हैव एनी प्लान टू इन्वेड यूक्रेन. दिस इज व्हाट दे हैव टू शेयर. जो ट्रिप्स की मूवमेंट हुई है, जो मिलिट्री एक्सेशन हुई है, दैट इज ओनली विद इन देयर टेरिटरी. And Russia and Belarusian official has announced that a joint military exercise is something which they are planning for next week. तो बेलारूस गवर्नमेंट ने ये कहा है कि यहाँ पे जो डिप्लॉयमेंट हुई है वो रशिया और बेलारूस की जो जॉइंट मिलिट्री एक्सरसाइजेज हैं उसको लेकर की जा रही है. बट द एंटिसिपेशन इज दैट दिस माइट लीड टू द कैप्चरिंग ऑफ द नॉर्थ यूक्रेन, राइट. The Russia military official has announced कि जो naval exercises हैं that inflow 20 vessels from the ballistic field. And Russia ने अपनी जो deployment के तौर पे they have almost deployed 35 fighter jet, 2 S-400 missile system and Pranster S defense system in the Belarus, which is a concern that was raised by NATO and US forces. Now the other news, this is an editorial dealing with macroeconomics uncertainties. This is important for General Studies Paper 3, Indian Economy and Issues Related to Planning, Mobilization, Resource Growth and Development. So what under this editorial? 3 important subheads that I'll be discussing with you. The first would be the inflationary pressures, addressing the unemployment and way forward. And the entire editorial discusses about the macroeconomic roadmap and how the budget can be something which will be a game changer. So under this editorial, the first point is against the backdrop of possible interest rate hike that we have seen in the US Fed Reserve. Now you can connect this editorial with the previous one that we have discussed. तो RBI के पास भी ये प्रेशर बढ़ रही है कि उन्हें भी अपनी इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ाने की जरूरत है to prevent the capital outflow. This is a pressure this is something which is inevitable in nature. Now the monetary policy corridor is accommodative. अगर बात करें growth की, we can see the growth in like down the line. अगर आप इस year end की बात करें, growth can be there, but जो central bank है that has to increase the interest rate significantly. So that I've told you, MPC की जो meeting होनी होगी, that would be decide like how we have to go ahead in terms of increasing all the rates that RBI used to regulate. However, the monetary policy committee that the meeting is awaiting in February 2022 to understand the RBI decision with this particular regard, that whether the change in the rates would be there or not. Now some inflationary pressures, definitely inflation is there. अगर wholesale की मैंने आपको बताई कि it's 14.32 in November, and the data released by the Minister of Commerce says that WPI slightly increased to 13.56, which is not that much. It need to be in a single digit. That is something which is advisable. Now RBI की जो financial stability report है that was published on December 29, 2021. So it says that they have revealed the worsening of gross non-performing assets. और जो scheduled commercial bank है उनकी भी जो performance थी earlier it was like 6.9% in September 2021. Now it has gone up to, it will go up to 9.5 by September 2022, right? So these are some of the inflationary pressure that the bank and other entity has to handle. Now, addressing the unemployment, this has been a very significant sector, or you can say the topic that government need to address at the urgent, because we have seen that the unemployment rate is very high in country. पिछले 45 सालों में भी जो data थी, we have discussed that was pretty high compared to the last 45 years. So rising unemployment need to be addressed through an urgent policy that can strengthen and guarantee the job to the youth. जो welfare model है government की, that is providing food and security to poor household, ऐसी तरह से डिजाइन करने की जरूरत है that we should have a gender budgeting for both male and female. The work should be there. Energy infrastructure salary the sector that should be giving a welcome move. Now if you talk about the way forward in this particular context, what you can write is like macroeconomics uncertainty की अगर बात करें, so we need to have a accommodative fiscal policy. This is something essentially required in the longer run. And upcoming union budget for this particular year would be crucial for the sustainable recovery or our economy, right? And public investment in terms of infrastructure, that is particularly important for the growth of the nation's economy, state of economy. Strengthening investment in healthcare sector is again very crucial at these chapters. We have seen during the COVID-19 that how the health sector was deteriorated, and this sector was not performing well because of the reason, the many shortfall we have seen. So this is a right time where government can invest in the healthcare sectors. Now, public investment in health is very important because union government ने अभी भी अपनी जो GDP की 1% के below ही खर्च की, and it is estimated that it has to be increased by 0.25%, which is roughly around 0.4% of the GDP. But it should be at least 1%, जो कि कम से कम होनी चाहिए, because बहुत ऐसे countries हैं जो अपनी GDP की 2 से 4% सिर्फ और सिर्फ अपने health infrastructure में खर्च करती है. We have lost a lot many life So this is a lesson that we need to learn, that we need to invest more in our healthcare and infrastructures. The Union Budget 2022 should maintain an accommodative fiscal stances in order to support the sustainable economic growth and progress across the human development. To support it, to support a sustainable development of economic growth, the human development, financing the human development can be a core factor, and it would be pivotal in order to sustain the growth sectors. The जो trajectory है growth की उसको promote करने के लिए ये सारी चीजें काफी महत्वपूर्ण है. Now moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For the yesterday questions, answer the first. For the first question, the correct option is C. For second question, the correct option is A. Do check out what you have marked as a correct option. Now today's MCQ, new start nuclear treaty recently seen in news is between which among the following countries? Between India and Japan, India and Russia, US Russia, and the other is Russia and Japan. So these are some of the options. इस तरह के जो भी mutual agreements हैं, military agreement or any sort of agreement, that would be again important for the current affair in prelims. Second question, National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management is located in which of the following cities? This might be important for many other competitive examination, whether it is based in New Delhi, Chennai, Gurugram or Hyderabad. So you need to mark the correct options. You have to practice this type of questions. The answer would be given on the tomorrow's video. So this was all about the daily news and editorial analysis followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.